I don't think that any of us had any idea that this is what really was going on behind the scenes. Welcome to my channel, Outspoken Samantha. If you are new here, welcome. Be sure to hit that subscribe button. And if you're returning, welcome back. I truly appreciate your continued support, and I hope that you are subscribed as well. And this is just your daily reminder to head on over to Rumble. If you have not created an account over there, please do and start using that as your primary streaming video viewing platform, because we do need to support platforms that support free speech, and YouTube is exactly the opposite of that. So if you have not had a chance to watch Matt Walsh's documentary, What is a Woman, I highly, highly recommend watching it. It was available for free on Twitter. I believe it was on June 1st, and they had it available for about 24 hours. I had never watched the full thing before. I had seen clips of it, so I knew what it was about. I just wasn't sure that my blood pressure could handle it, but I finally did sit down to watch the full 90 plus minutes of it, and it was everything that that we expected it to be, that I expected it to be. But what was interesting is that it got over, I believe, 170 million views. And these are authentic views. These are people that 100% made their own choice to want to see it. No one forced them to share it. No one forced them to watch it. So to me, this sends the strongest message to all of the heterophobes out there that people are done with this. All of these people who, as we speak, are using Pride Month to turn as many little boys and girls into the loyal devotees of gender ideology. We sent this message saying that regardless of people's political affiliation, that we are absolutely unified on the fact that we are done with this crap. People are waking up to the fact that this has nothing to do with the original bill of goods that we were sold, where the gay community just wanted the right to love who they want to love and marry who they want to marry, and just have the same rights as traditional couples, and that it was just our job to help kids understand that there are people in this world who want to express themselves in more extreme ways or non-traditional ways, and that we just need to teach them to love and accept them. See, we got that memo, and those are not even the things that people are debating anymore. I mean, gender and transgender activists are saying that it's about love and tolerance, but their actions repeatedly show us that it has nothing to do with either of those things. And like I said, the fact that this documentary got 170 million views by choice, people of their own volition, shows that people are recognizing that. No one is denying the existence of people who have actual gender dysphoria, but we're also recognizing that having like 1,000% increase in people under the age of 18 as coming out as non-binary, or as taking on some kind of queer identity, or that they're the opposite sex, or that they don't have a gender at all, that this is not something that is happening naturally, and we want to know what is driving it. And people are also realizing that opposition to it is not coming from a place of hate, but from a place of wanting to preserve reality, sanity, science, facts, and truth. Because we know that it's a fact that children specifically, I mean adults as well, but children thrive on a foundation of stability and boundaries. And we can see that through this movement, those things are literally being stolen right out from under them. So this is why people just flocked by the millions to this documentary. And of course, the activists are absolutely terrified of how much the curtain is being pulled back on this, because they know that the more light that is shone on the truth about what is happening, the more people are going to recognize how relentless the effort has been to pull them into darkness. So in this video, I want to focus on just one of the contributors to the documentary, because her story really stood out to me, especially when more things were revealed afterwards. When this documentary was released a year ago, her identity was hidden because she was too afraid to reveal her face, as she spoke about her experiences of being forced to accept a biological male onto her women's only swim team. She was a teammate of Riley Gaines. And the thing that really was eye-opening was the fact that the intimidation was so much worse than what any of us realized. So this is what this segment looked like on the documentary, What is a Woman?
There was a lot of things you couldn't talk about that were very concerning, like a locker room situation. If you even brought up concerns about it, you were transphobic. If you even bring up the fact that Lia swimming might not be fair, you are immediately shut down as being called a hateful person or transphobic.
But there's never any conversation. The coaches don't sit everyone down and acknowledge what everyone's really upset about.
So Penn actually brought in people high up in the athletic department to talk to us. They brought in someone from like the LGBTQ center. They brought in someone from the psychological services.
So you're upset about what's happening, and so you need psychological help.
Yeah, and they told us in this meeting, they said, look, we understand there's an array of emotions, but Lia swimming is a non-negotiable. However, we can help you make that okay. That's what we're here for.
So after What Is a Woman was circulated on Twitter and millions of people saw it, Matt Walsh also did release a follow-up interview with this young woman who finally felt like it was time to reveal her identity. And she gave a very eye-opening interview and answered a lot of questions, gave information that I know I personally was not expecting to hear. But at first, Matt asks her, why did you decide to finally come forward and reveal your identity and take a stand on this issue? And I think a lot of us have had that question. Why are there not more female athletes speaking up about this? And this is what she had to say.
So the biggest thing for me has just been, I thought maybe if I waited a year or however much time that these feelings I felt, unfairness, this is not the truth, this is not just, would go away. And they never really did. And I just spent this last year just kind of living vicariously through, Riley's going and doing these great things. She's going to accomplish all these things we need to have done. And she's made great strides, but I am still feeling so passionately about this that I want to join her.
I think this is a big part of why a lot of women haven't spoken out yet, even when it has directly affected them. They've been hoping that if they just kind of wait it out, the issue will be addressed and somebody will come forward and put a stop to all of this, and society will revert back to our previous levels of at least some kind of reliable sanity, and then they won't have to deal with it. However, as we've seen, the issue has not gotten any better, but it's only gotten a lot worse, especially as we're seeing changes to Title IX being proposed where these teams will not be able to reject somebody based on their gender identity, meaning it is open game for any male that wants to call themselves a woman and join a female team. And Paula here she's recognizing that. She's realizing that the silence is actually what is being used to the advantage of these woke activists. And they're just going to bulldoze these insane policies through, and they don't care how many opportunities are being stolen from young women or the fact that their years and years of hard work to get to this elite level of competition is truly just being ripped out from under them. They don't care. She starts out by talking about how Lia Thomas actually came to compete on their female team. They were told that he would be joining about a year before he actually did, and this was during a team meeting in the fall of 2019. They were actually introduced to him as a male and told that he would be taking hormones for the next year to meet this bizarre requirement set by the NCAA. Basically saying that if this professional, experienced male athlete took hormones for a year, then that would make his competitive ability equal to that of a woman. And there was no negotiating. They did not have any say in the matter. And Paula says that when they made this announcement, she knew in her gut that this was completely wrong and insane, but she saw that most of her teammates were cheering and expressing excitement for what was happening. And she was sitting there like, am I the crazy one? Am I the only one that doesn't see what is wrong with all of this? You would think that in a room full of women who can clearly see that there is absolutely no logic in this whatsoever and know that this male is probably going to beat them in every single event, that they would see their strength in numbers and somebody would put up a fuss about it or at least start asking questions right there on the spot. But in a previous video that I did a few weeks ago, I talked about one of these qualities that women have that's innate in us far more than men that makes us particularly vulnerable to being taken advantage of by transgender policies, and that it's this quality of agreeableness. It was something that Jordan Peterson pointed out as he was discussing the gender pay gap, which that's a whole other issue, but as one of the numerous reasons as to why sometimes women don't get paid as much as men, because we aren't naturally confrontational and we don't like conflict, so we're less likely to go and demand that we be paid more or to ask that of, our boss or our employer or whatever. And I still truly believe that that's at least part of it. But as I've watched more women actually take a stand over the last year, whether it be, refusing to compete on a team where there is a biological male or refusing to share a podium with one of these athletes, something that I've actually felt is pity for this person. And I know that what they're doing is despicable and it's narcissistic and it's wrong, but it does bother me to make another person feel bad. And I think that's a natural reaction, especially for women. We don't want to single people out or embarrass them or exclude them. However, these women are being put in this position where if they want to have any hope of preserving women's sports and opportunities, this is what they have to do. I think it's important to remember that this is a narcissistic individual who decided to call themselves a woman because they couldn't place anywhere close to the top in the men's sports that they were competing in. And this person does not deserve our pity. They are putting themselves in this position and preying on our natural instincts and vulnerabilities. And that's where women need to make the distinction and take that stand, because it's not our fault that they might end up feeling bad or isolated. They're the ones that caused this. And we're allowed to react in a way that allows us to fight for our rights. Then Paula goes on to talk about how things started and how they unfolded once Thomas actually did start competing on their team. She says that because it is a rostered sport, there were only a certain number of spots. So every time that Thomas was included in an event, that meant that another girl that had worked hard for that spot was left off the bus. She also said that there had initially been some back and forth about which locker room this person would use, but one day they just walked in and the name Lia Thomas was on one of the locker rooms, and I guess it was just decided, and that choice was made without any input from the girls, and they weren't given any notice about it at all. Matt then asked her if there was anyone on the team that ever expressed, being upset about what was happening, and this is what she said.
Yeah, actually, one of the girls, very upset. She went crying to the athletic department, and something in that conversation, I don't know what they said to her, but she then was completely on board and thought Lia swimming was like this magical, beautiful thing.
Really?
Yeah. It was anyone.
She was crying. She was crying about it. Mm-hmm. I mean, rightly so.
Yes.
She talks to the athletic department.
She made a meeting. She's like, I'm going to speak to the athletic department about this. And I said, go you. And she came back from the meeting, and suddenly it was the most magical, beautiful thing that this was like, we're part of this groundbreaking team. There was something going on in that athletic department that wanted to keep us quiet. And I was like, this is getting scary.
Did that make anybody else's hair on their arms stand straight up? Because that is absolutely terrifying. What could have possibly been said in that meeting, not just to calm this girl down, but completely shift her viewpoint to the point where she was turned into some kind of cheerleader for what was going on? Like, this is absolutely bizarre. And I just did a video on cult-like behavior that we're seeing in today's society, and if this isn't indicative of what we're seeing here, then I don't know what is. And if that wasn't bad enough, Matt then asks Paula, did you ever find out what was said in that meeting? And this is what she says.
Not directly, but it was 2 days later that they had that formal meeting with us. And notably, Lia was excluded from this meeting. They said, don't talk to the media, you will regret it.
Is that a direct quote? You will regret it?
Yep. Another thing they said is Lia swimming is a non-negotiable. And then they provided us with counseling services to help us be okay with Lia swimming.
Like, what is going on? I mean, this is not how I imagined that this all played out at all. I honestly just thought that this person decided to become a woman. They went to the athletic director. The athletic director caved due to woke pressure. And Thomas just showed up one day, and these girls just didn't know how to deal with it because this was such an unbelievable issue to be faced with. I had no idea that there was this level of intimidation going on behind the scenes. And again, I say that is absolutely terrifying. And just to follow that up,
what if anything, were you guys saying to each other about all this? Were you commiserating about how outrageous and unfair it is, or was it a feeling that you can't even talk about it to each other for fear of punishment?
So prior to that meeting, I would have one-on-one conversations with pretty much everyone on the team. Say, hey, I don't think this is right. Yeah, I don't think it's right either. Another teammate actually said to me, I think Lia's record should have an asterisk. Or someone said, I think Lia should compete exhibition. Or, I don't think this is going to go on for much longer. Like, someone's going to step in and end this. And I had these conversations with so many of my teammates. I would say most people on the team had this opinion. And then after that meeting, they really scared us. It was scary. And I was petrified. I went home that night and I called my brother on the phone and I said, can I even talk about this with you? Like, is there something wrong with me for thinking that this is wrong? It worked. The university wanted us to be quiet and they did it in a very effective way. Like, they continued to just tell us that our opinions were wrong and that if we had an issue with it, we were the problem. And it's frightening and your future job is on the line and everything else you want to accomplish. So of course it worked. And then after that point, no one would talk about it anymore.
So I don't think I can use the word terrifying enough. This is absolutely terrifying for women because these kind of bullying and intimidation tactics that are used toward women to keep them silent in the presence of a man, we used to only hear about this coming from countries where women are viewed as little more than property, where they have absolutely no value in society at all. So there's that. Congratulations, progressives. I think this ideology is pushing us so far back in women's rights that we have less rights than when this country was founded 240 years ago. Secondly, it is beyond undeniable that the First Amendment does not exist anymore. We don't have free speech. I mean, it's preserved in areas that aren't totally run by Democrats at this point, but they're not even worried about that anymore because the real effort was to eliminate the First Amendment by infiltrating our public education system and taking over college campuses, knowing that college used to be a place where young adults would come to explore different ideas and debate different ideas. But by changing the meaning of words and language to mean the opposite of how they're actually defined, you now have college students who are fighting to have government censor them. And Paula talks about this in this one last clip that I want to show you.
Going into college, I was always under the belief that colleges were a place of free speech, right? Candace Owens actually spoke at the University of Pennsylvania my freshman year. And I said, great, this is what this is about. We can have conservative voices on campus. We can have liberal voices on campus. And I was so excited to have all these opportunities to listen to opinions from both sides. Like, that is what I went to college for. And that's what I thought college education was. And then as these things started going on, I realized that they don't have that. Their agenda is to have everyone believe what they want them to believe. And, it really became so clear to me my senior year when all this started happening that is actually the case, that universities want their agenda pushed into everyone's mind. And they don't care if you have a different opinion because they don't want you to have that.
It is undeniably clear that colleges have a singular goal in mind. Like China, like North Korea, like other communist societies around the world, they want to bring in young adults who are eager to learn and eager to explore new ideas and ensure that they graduate with a singular purpose, a singular belief system, and an unwavering dedication to the activism of destroying the country that is actually giving them all of their rights. To make them see freedom as something that is dangerous and evil, because we generally work to eradicate things that are dangerous and evil, to make them see freedom of religion as dangerous to people who want to express themselves in their own way, so that they will advocate to destroy those religions and make the only ideology that people can turn to and legally can learn about the religion that hates America. If that wasn't bad enough, I was listening to a video by Candace Owens a couple of days ago, and she was very frustrated with some of the things that were happening behind the scenes. We know that Matt Walsh's channel was demonetized entirely by YouTube not that long ago, and it's because of how he talks about these gender issues. And now Candace Owens and Michael Knowles, their channels are also being targeted, and YouTube has essentially told them that if they want to stay monetized, if they want to continue to make money on this platform, that they have to remove all videos talking about gender or where they misgendered somebody. So if there are people that have used YouTube as a means of their income, as their primary source of income, then YouTube is holding that hostage to get them to comply, to bully them and intimidate them into going along with this ideology. In that video where she was explaining it, Michael Knowles said something that I thought was really, really important. He said that it's not just about censoring free speech, because it's bad enough when we can't say, the things that we want to say. It's about whether or not we are allowed to say things that are true. That YouTube, that Facebook, that all of these other mechanisms, all of these other things are forcing down on us, that we have to accept lies and we have to speak lies. And it occurred to me that it's bad enough that YouTube is trying to do that, but that is exactly what is happening in college institutions, in places where people go to expect to be able to explore all of these different ideas, and they are being told to lie. They are being indoctrinated to lie. It's not even just about censoring free speech. It's about being forced and educated in a way where what they believe and what they say are lies. And that is really, really scary, because if you can get people to say lies, you can get them to go along with anything. And if you have a bunch of young people that are going into an institution meant for education, and the only thing that they learn are the things that the people in charge want them to hear and want them to know, then they have no idea what the truth is, and they will repeat and they will do anything. Honestly, I have told my kids, you don't need to go to college. You can learn a trade, you can start a business, you can start at an entry-level position in an area of work that you are interested in and work your way up. There are so many other things that you can do to succeed in life where you don't have to pay hundreds of thousands of dollars to be indoctrinated into something that is so destructive, and to be, honestly, to graduate dumber than when you went in. And I just have to say, I don't know if it was an error on my part or what happened, but I was actually denied YouTube's monetization program, even though I do meet the requirements. So I guess yay me that I will not be relying on YouTube as an income source, but it's not even that they're going to demonetize me. They're just not going to monetize me at all. They're not even going to allow me to do those things, because the things that they are trying to censor are pretty much what my entire channel is about. So I will leave the links to the videos that I have discussed, the entire interview between Matt and Paula, the things that Candace Owens was saying. I'll leave those links in the video or in the description box below so that you can view those. I'm not entirely sure where What Is a Woman is streaming other than on the Daily Wire platform at this point, but I do recommend watching it if there is any way that you possibly can. Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Like this video because it does help me in the algorithm. Go over to Rumble and create your account there and make that your primary streaming service. And if you feel so inclined to support the channel by hitting that donate button, the little thanks button, always appreciated. Otherwise, I will see you in the next one. Bye.